Majid. Majid Tavakoli is an Iranian student fighting for a better society for himself and others in Iran. He got imprisoned on the Student Day in 2009 for speaking out for a better and freer Iran. Since the riots in 2009, the regime has been harder on the opposition than ever before. And it was in the aftermath of this election that Majid Tavakoli gave a speech he is now serving his prison sentence for.
بازاری و کارگر و خانه‌ساز به جرم خواستن ها، به جرم آزادی، به جرم بهایی و مسیحی و زرتشتی پشت دیوار ابری به انتظار نشستن.
I think people have said a lot about who Majid Tavakoli is. I want to pay respect to so many other students that are in jail for the moment, or have been, or those who live a life in exile, or those who have been suppressed or bravely speaking their minds, or have been lucky enough not to be taught by far.
یار دبستانی من با من و همراه من چوب الف بر سر ما بغض من و آه من تر شده اسم من و تو روترین تخت سیاه ترکه بیداد ستم مونده هنوز رو تن ما دشت بی فرهنگی ما هرز تموم.
Majid has become a symbol in the fight for democracy and human rights in Iran. And in Iran, there is a strong need for people who have the courage to speak up against the regime. Unfortunately, Majid is not the only one who is imprisoned for using his freedom of speech. Since 2009, Amnesty has recorded that more than 600 students and lecturers have been imprisoned for being a threat against the regime. We encourage you to go online on Amnesty's website, where Amnesty have a petition, and sign a petition focusing on Iranian students, where we demand the release of all students imprisoned for using the freedom of speech. Thank you.
نذاشتن هم صدایی رو بلد باشیم، نذاشتن حتی با هم دیگه بد باشیم، کتابای سفید و دوره می کردیم که فکر شب کلاهی از نمد باشیم.
I'm so happy to see you all here, and I want to thank you for the inspiring walk of peace we took together. Today, we are gathered to celebrate one person, a person who himself cannot be present. We are here to recognize the work of Majid Tavakoli. He could not witness, as I did today, how all the 116 nationalities that you represent walked peacefully together through the streets of Trondheim. We walked together not to protest, but to show our support. Tavakoli is a spokesperson for peaceful solutions.
He believes in a democratic society based on participation and the freedom of speech. Even from prison, he is a strong voice for democracy and academic freedom. He puts a spotlight on the human rights violations he and many others are victims of. Tavakoli is a symbol of student resistance. By banning and arresting students from their studies on the basis of gender, beliefs, or peaceful activism, the Iranian authorities are violating the obligations under international law. The Iranian authorities must recognize that students, like all in Iran, have the right to peacefully express their opinions on their own or in association and to peacefully demonstrate. This includes the right to express their criticism of the government. Tavakoli used this right, and for that he's been arrested. But still, he is not silent. We are not silent, and we will show him and the world that we have not forgotten. We will not be silent until there's justice for Majid Tavakoli. This justice we all have to work for. We all have to contribute to create peace. Peace is about talking and listening. Peace is about dialogue and understanding. You show, we show, that Majid Tavakoli is not forgotten. One former laureate is here today, Min Kunai. When he heard that he had won the Student Peace Prize while imprisoned in Burma, it gave him hope. He was not alone. Neither is Majid. Tavakoli has heard that he is the recipient of the Student Peace Prize of 2013. We have to hope that this will strengthen him and all those who believe in him. We hope that one day we will be able to invite Tavakoli to stand on this very stage, that once again we'll have the opportunity to speak to thousands of students and urge for change. And this is possible if we all do our part. In his letter, titled, "Let's Remain on the Side of the People," which Tavakoli wrote in 2010, he emphasized the responsibility we have as students. I read, "For you have accepted the title student to bear the responsibility in the harshest of times to uphold the moral high ground associated with it. You are the inheritors of a high tradition which, despite years and years of repression, has remained alive and vibrant. You are the model of change, bestowed with a critical mind, endowed with the courage to defend criticism, to accept criticism, and to preserve your stronghold of enlightenment. There will be no change unless someone asks, why? But if we speak up, it is never too late to create change. Majid Tavakoli and the winners to come are representing hope for the future. We in this hall are also representing this hope. We are the future, and it is up to us to make it a better one for students and youth all over the world. Thank you.
Higgley Oseda. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that this prize is awarded to honor a student who has been imprisoned for his struggle for the freedom. The prize will give us courage to continue the peace movement. When we are struggling for peace and freedom, imprisonment and other kinds of troubles are unavoidable. We have to face them. In such a situation, it becomes so important to know the recognition from the international community that we are not forgotten. We appreciate supports from the international students. I believe that this prize will become the light of Northern Star for Majid Tavakoli from Iran, who is now going through the darkest corner in the prison. I'm sure that our warm helping hands can make him stand firm when he is about to collapse. I'm telling this based on my own experience. When I was about to collapse during my time in solitary confinement, this student peace prize became the most powerful helping hands for me. Please allow me to revisit the situation I was facing in 2001. I had been in solitary confinement in a very narrow cell for 20 years at that time. I had no idea when I could be freed. When I learned about awarding of this peace prize to me, I feel that it is the best recognition by the international community for those who are struggling for freedom. I had gained more strength and courage to carry on regain democracy and freedom in my country. I strongly feel that this prize was given by the international students, not only me, but also to all of fellow students in our country still fighting for freedom. We all, the international students community, will be ready to cooperate for peace around the world. I truly believe that our unity and movement will become our group song for peace during our march toward free and happy lives for our goal. Thank you so much to you all.
Majid Tavakoli is a role model for all students dedicated to the promotion of peace and democracy around the world. In a turbulent context dominated by violence and oppression, Tavakoli stands as a spokesperson for peaceful solutions and development through reform towards a democratic society based on participation and the freedom of speech. Democracy grows rather from within a society. Freedom is a need, a craving, embedded in all of humanity. Democracy never comes about as a result from outside pressure, certainly not by the use of force. Democracy can only grow from the inside of a society or a nation. The first thing we need to do is to aid these, our brothers and sisters, our fellow students, is to recognize them, to see them, and to spread their message of a society based on values like respect, understanding, participation, equal liberties, and freedom of expression. This prize is our attempt at doing so.
خطاب به رهبری جمهوری اسلامی و شخص متاسفانه فضای سرکوب به حدیه که دوستان تحکیم از من خواستم که در باب رهبری و شخص آقای خامنه‌ای که شاید چند روز آینده در دانشگاه علوم و صنعت حاضر بشه صحبتی نکنم. من از همه عذر میخوام. ما دوست نداریم خودسانسوری رمالی و رویه حاکم در جنبش دانشجویی بشه، ولی با توجه به درخواست دوستان میپذیریم. به هر حال ببخشید بازم. اما از تلخی‌های جامعه‌مون بگیم، چیزی که امروز ما رو دور همدیگه جمع کرده: عناد با دموکراسی، آزادی ستیزی، حق کشی، تاف و تاز خرد ستیزان در دانشگاه، سرکوب نهادهای مدنی و فعالان کارگری و معلمان، خشم بر قومیت‌ها و اقلیت‌ها، جفای بر زنان و دختران دانشگاه، دانشجویان از دانشگاه، تبعید اندیشمندان، سانسور شدید رسانه‌ای، توقیف روزنامه‌ها و نشریات، تبدیل رسانه ملی به مولد حاکمیت و پر شدن زندان‌ها از آزاداندیشان و شکنجه دانشجویان در بند و زندانیان. جنبش دانشجویی همان گونه که در سال 32 و سال 50 و تا به امروز در تمام طول حیات خویش در برابر استبداد خودکامگی در نفی ظلم و ستم ایستاده، همچنان باید بایستند و ظلم از چه محصول طاغوت شاهنشاهی باشد و چه حاکمیت ولایی و نایبی.
In absence of popular support, and in order to survive, the dictatorship in Iran has to spread fear among the people. They do it by persecution and arrest of activists, journalists, intellectuals, and by public executions and amputations and extensive use of violence. In this way, they appear more powerful than they actually are, and they make the people feel more powerless. It's in this context that we understand why the Iranian authorities were so threatened by Majid Tavakoli, a peaceful 23-year-old student who just spoke about the fundamental human rights and for what they put him in solitary confinement and sentenced him to 9 years in prison and lifetime ban from education. Majid Tavakoli's words about the human rights situation, and especially when he addresses the supreme leader, these words still shake the fundaments of the Iranian regime. His peaceful words are a much bigger threat to the regime's existence than any threat of a military intervention. His speech demonstrates that Majid and the student movement are not powerless. Today's prize is not only a prize to Majid Tavakoli for his courage and peaceful struggle for democracy and human rights in Iran. It's also a declaration of support for all members of the Iranian student movement and all those who struggle for the basic human rights. This prize inspires them and gives them strength to continue their struggle. I am moved by this week's events in honor of Majid Tavakoli, by seeing the pictures of the veiled male Norwegian students saying, "We are all Majid," and especially today's walk of peace through the center of Trondheim. Iranian regime put Majid in prison to shut his voice. But today, Majid's voice is louder than ever because you are his voice. I can imagine how inspiring it will be for Majid and the other members of the student movement when they hear about all these events. I can tell you that 2 days after announcement of the prize in September, the news reached the prison and it made Majid and the other prisoners very happy, and they actually celebrated it. I'm sure that this week's events would be even more inspiring to them. It gives them the strength to keep their faith in a better future while they are in captivity. The prize has also a message to Iran's supreme leader, Mr. Ali Khamenei, that the world is watching you and you will be held accountable for what your regime is doing. I would like to say a few words to Mr. Khamenei in Farsi. آقای خامنه‌ای، شما فکر میکنید تا کی میتونید با انداختن بهترین فرزندان ایران در زندان، با سانسور، با اعدام و قطع عضو در ملأ عام به بقای حکومتتون ادامه بدین؟ یقین داشته باشید که در آینده نه چندان دور بهار ایران نیز فرا خواهد رسید و آن روز شما و دیگر مسئولین نظام باید در مقابل مردم ایران به خاطر تمام ظلم و ستمی که در این 34 ساله مرتکب شده جوابگو باشید. My friends, I'm certain that sooner or later the Iranian spring will arrive. And one day Majid Tavakoli will be standing here and receiving the prize on behalf of the student movement. But until then, we are all Majid. Thank you very much.